So, my name is John Held. I'm a consultant, a technology consultant with a consulting firm. And one of my friends at work asked me about some ideas for summer projects for his kid. And I said that, one of the really interesting things that young people can immerse themselves in now is using AI to generate applications that can drive a lot of business value very simply and very rapidly. Since my friend is in the supply chain aspect of consulting, I thought I would take a very common algorithm used in supply chain to determine when and how much to reorder, and I would show in a video how quick it is to generate a piece of working software that does this. And this is important because traditionally, the way that organizations procured or developed computerized systems to help them with their processes is to buy a large enterprise application. And that often is the right choice. But today there's a new option that lets organizations develop working code really rapidly with minimal cost and effort. So this is completely unscripted. AI is can be very temperamental, and there's a potential for us to see some errors and potentially have to retrace our steps. No net, performing without a net here. But I'll go ahead and start off just by giving some background on economic order quantity. So I'm going to share a little bit of material that I've used around EOQ that is part of my supply chain micromasters. That's an MIT program that's provided entirely online. So I'm on my other screen here. I'm opening up what is effectively a digital textbook that MIT provides for this course that describes a number of different techniques and algorithms used in supply chain. So just moving that over. So here's a chapter on economic order quantity. There's some basic and more advanced versions. It's a influential and widely used mode for managing inventory. And basically it allows you to make trade-offs between fixed and variable holding costs. And the calculation considers a number of things. It considers the purchase cost of the items, the ordering cost, the excess holding cost, storage cost, demand over time, forecasted demand, carrying cost, and this is the inventory holding costs, replenishment quantities, and then it calculates a number of different attributes. So kind of first step is I know that I want to take the basic model, not the one with extensions. And so the very first step that we're going to take here is I'm going to have AI help me create what's called a prompt. And a prompt is a series of instructions that I provide to AI to help it execute something. In this case, the prompt is going to be for creating an application that automatically creates this code. So right now, I'm just taking this whole chapter. I'm going to copy and paste it first into ChatGPT to help me write the prompt. And for some reason, this is going kind of sluggishly, so appreciate your patience here while I copy and paste this chapter of the textbook. Okay, so highlighted the chapter on EOQ, and I'm calling my project EOQ. So now I'm in ChatGPT, and I'm going to create a prompt. I'd like your help creating a prompt that I will use in Replit to create an EOQ application. Like to use the formulas below to drive the calculations. Please provide a suggested prompt that I can use that will create a simple application with the desired functionality. Here's the okay. So I've just pasted in the output from the supply chain textbook, and it's chunking through, and it's aware I'm in Replit. It's suggesting some technologies that are really good to use. Streamlit is an application that helps build a user interface. It's going to use some libraries like Matlib or Plotly. It's going to include some sensitivity analysis. It'll keep the code clean. So I'm just going to take this entire prompt, and the prompt talks about the features, the inputs, provides the calculations, and then some notes. So, and it also specifies it's for educational purposes. So now I'm going over to Replit, and Replit started out as an IDE, and an IDE is a user interface, kind of like a word processor for writing code. And as Replit was in exponential growth mode, Replit management realized that AI was going to significantly help the application. So I've pasted in my prompt that I prototyped in another large language learning model, and I'm just going to select start building. Now this process will take about 5 minutes. So I'll try to talk through this a little bit to show what it's doing. If you want to advance ahead, if you fast forward a little bit, once you get to a working application, you can pause the video there. But it's confirmed for me that it's looking at what I summarized. The first step Replit has is it reads my instructions, my prompt, and it asks me to validate this. And it also gives me some suggestions for some additional features. And I don't want at this point multi-item or multi-period inventory optimization, quantity discounts. I'm going to leave that for future enhancements. But I'll just click on Improve Plan and Start. And right now, if we, I'm going to start my timer just so we can kind of keep track of how long this takes. All right, so it is now creating app.py, which is the Python application, the Python block of code that will control the whole application. When this is done, it's going to later create the libraries underneath. It will likely create some visualization. So we'll see it creating different parts of the application as we go along. And right now, there's nothing in the preview app over here on the right side of the screen. But as it builds the application, the first thing we'll see is a static prototype that just will let us evaluate the user interface. We'll confirm that or provide some feedback. And then the next step, it'll create a running application. All right, so it's installed Streamlit, which is the package that'll help create the user interface. That this is as I mentioned before, a library that works well with Python. One of the genesis for Replit is that there's a lot of effort that developers have to make with just getting their basic infrastructure, their libraries and packages installed. And a really nice thing about Replit is it just automates that process, and it's aware of a lot of the dependencies. So the whole initial idea of Replit was, get a developer started. Bam. Now we've got a full graphical user interface of our application. So here we've got the purchasing cost per unit, the holding cost, the ordering costs, the holding cost, and the demand per week. And as we adjust some of these parameters, we can calculate economic order quantity. And economic order quantity basically says, at this point in time, how many units should I order? And that's based on the lead time and some other factors, as well as the holding costs. It's produced some EOQ graphics and a fairly helpful kind of initial graphic. Now, there's some EOQ graphics that are helpful that I don't see here. And nicely, we don't have any errors. Oftentimes, we get some errors. So I like this chart. This shows your safety stock level. And imagine you're a retailer, and as you have some inventory on hand, and as consumers buy that inventory, you don't want to wait till you get to zero before you reorder. It takes, there's some time that it takes to reorder. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just simply going to say, look, I'd like this chart added to my application. So I am going to snip this using a snipping tool. Take a snapshot, and I'll come back over here and I'll say, I'd like this type of graph to accompany my application. So all I've done is just paste an example of the graph. It's thinking, reviewing the message, and what it's going to do now is rewrite the code to have an inventory cycle chart. Now, I actually didn't tell it this was an inventory cycle chart because it's an LLM, and because any article about EOQ, PDF document that might be a portion of a professor's class, or document from a supply chain article, it's recognized the type of chart and actually included the proper type of chart. Okay, it's going to add the input for safety stock in the sidebar and display the inventory. It's editing my app py, which is my overall file that manages my application. Now it's edited again to add the new inputs that we need, and it's going to add it to the main display. And it's going to add it to the educational notes. So since this application is educational, it includes a section that has some educational notes that describe the different portions, the calculations used. All right, so let's go back. We're getting an error. So one of the things that Replit does that's kind of nice is it'll often detect if there's an error in the code, and it will correct some of these errors. Other times it might be errors that we just see in the user interface, and I can just type in this section what the error was, and it will attempt to repair it on its own. Okay, so the application's gone away, which means it's restarting. And now we have an inventory cycle chart. So what we've just walked through is, we've taken a fairly complex formula, fairly dense material from an academic program, pasted it into one LLM, ChatGPT, asked it to help us to create a very well-designed application. AI has helped us write the prompt, which is a set of instructions to build an application. Then it's built the application for us. It detected and corrected some errors. It doesn't always correct errors. Sometimes we have to help it along. And then looking at it, we've determined that there's an enhancement that we'd like to see, and it's plugged in the enhancement. So this is just a really rapid way to digitize decision-making. That is a really, really, really big change from the past, where developing any kind of custom software took an extremely long time and a lot of expense, or you had to buy an enterprise application. Now, there's still definitely a rationale for enterprise applications like SAP or Dynamics, and they all have their place. But the key point here is that there's now a new alternative that didn't exist before that lets any organization and any individual design an application, design code that solves their problem on the fly just in time. Now, some final caveats here. One is that ideally, what I would have started out with is I would have started from a trusted source and developed a large number of EOQ tests where I run through different scenarios with different purchase cost, ordering cost, holding cost, demand, and safety stock. I would have built a trusted set of validated use cases off to the side so that I could test this application against known outcomes. Then when I created Replit, I would have told it that part of what I wanted to do every time it updates the application is run through a series of tests and show me the results. And then I would have wanted to compare the results coming out of this application I just built with a trusted source. So that's really a key with AI. Probably the most important key is to begin with the ground truth in mind and have your application test itself against the ground truth. Now, we didn't do that in the instance of brevity, but that would be something I would really do in real life. Start with your tests to begin with. The second thing is we have a running application here. And as we can see, I can change my purchase cost. I can change my demand, my weekly demand, and we'll see that the charts update. I can change my holding costs, and my units will change in response to those things. So this is indeed dynamic and responsive. Now, what it may not be is highly performant for lots of users. So it may be that there's a lot more optimization needed before I could actually launch this. And we also want to consider things like security as well. Replit has a lot of built-in controls for security, but we may need to go through a process to actually get this application into production. That's a lot more intensive than what you're seeing here. But the key thing is that we can go from an idea, a complex input of requirements to something that we could touch and feel and interact with in minutes. So that's the end of my presentation on Replit. I hope you enjoyed this, and please add your questions or comments below.